Sophie.
The WNBA had just witnessed a moment that could change the trajectory of the league. Caitlain Clark, one of the brightest stars in the sport, had been relentlessly hacked, knocked around, and left vulnerable on the court. The refs did nothing. Fans, absolutely furious, began chanting for action. "Do something," they screamed. But who would step up? Who would rise to the occasion and defend the league's most valuable player? It wasn't until Sophie Cunningham entered the picture that the dynamic of the game shifted entirely. In one breathtaking instant, Sophie Cunningham delivered a message so powerful it resonated far beyond that one game. Sophie didn't just defend her teammate, Caitlain Clark. No, she became her protector, a symbol of defiance against the lack of enforcement that had plagued the league for years. This wasn't a regular WNBA moment. It was one that left a mark on the sports world. Sophie Cunningham's viral moment wasn't just a highlight, it was a revolution. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why Sophie's actions set the stage for something that will impact the WNBA for years to come. The game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun was supposed to be just another hard-fought battle on the court. But for Caitlain Clark, it turned into something much more brutal. Known as the face of the WNBA, Caitlain is the player who makes fans tune in, the star whose presence on the court brings energy, excitement, and viewership. But in this game, she wasn't just being targeted with hard fouls, she was being physically attacked, and the refs were nowhere to be found. This wasn't just a single incident, it was a pattern of mistreatment that had been happening throughout the entire season. Caitlain Clark had already been hit hard in multiple games, but this time, things escalated. First, she was poked in the eye by JCS Sheldon, a move that many believed was deliberate. Watch the replay, and you can see the clear swipe to her face. Yet, there were no calls, no technical fouls, just the typical lack of enforcement. It didn't stop there, though. Marina Mabrey, with seemingly no regard for the rules, body-checked Caitlain, sending her crashing to the court. This was beyond careless. It was downright malicious, and the silence from the officials was deafening. This wasn't just an isolated mistake. It was a blatant disregard for the safety of the league's biggest star. Caitlain Clark, who has single-handedly brought millions of eyes to the WNBA, was being mistreated. It felt like the league had forgotten what she represented. But as the crowd grew louder, as the frustration built, the moment that was about to unfold would change everything. Enter Sophie Cunningham. Known for her toughness and fierce competitiveness, Sophie wasn't about to let Caitlain Clark's treatment slide any longer. With the game all but won, Sophie made her move. Out of nowhere, she delivered a flagrant foul to JCS Sheldon. It was a hard hit, no doubt about it. But that wasn't just a typical foul. It was a message, a statement. Sophie Cunningham wasn't just stepping in for Caitlain Clark. She was stepping in for every player who had been wronged, for every fan who had been disappointed by the lack of protection for their stars. The significance of Sophie's actions cannot be overstated. In one fell swoop, Sophie Cunningham became the enforcer that the WNBA desperately needed. She was the one who stood up for what was right when no one else would. And she did it in a way that was both calculated and impactful. It wasn't reckless, it was precise. It was a move that demanded attention. And boy, did it get it. In that single moment, Sophie Cunningham not only changed the tone of the Fever's season, but also set a new precedent for how players should be protected. The message she sent was loud and clear. The WNBA's most valuable star, Caitlain Clark, would not be left to fend for herself. Sophie was here to defend her. And from that moment forward, the WNBA would never be the same. Now, let's talk about Sophie Cunningham. Because what many fans didn't know was that she wasn't just an enforcer. She was always destined for more. Long before her viral moment, Sophie had built a reputation for being a gritty, hard-working player with a chip on her shoulder. From a young age, Sophie was a force to be reckoned with. By the time she was 6 years old, she had already earned a black belt in Taekwondo. This wasn't just about sports for Sophie. It was about discipline, about toughness, and about setting a standard for herself that she wouldn't compromise on. As she grew older and made her mark in the WNBA, Sophie became known for her gritty defense, her ability to step up when the team needed it most, and her leadership on and off the court. But this moment against the Sun was her crowning achievement. Sophie was no longer just a role player. She wasn't just another piece in the puzzle for the Fever. Sophie Cunningham had become the WNBA's most unlikely hero. And the fans were paying attention. In less than 48 hours, Sophie's viral moment had propelled her into the limelight. Her name was everywhere, from social media platforms to ESPN. Her TikTok followers skyrocketed, and her jersey, gone, sold out in mere hours. In a league that has struggled to capture the attention of mainstream sports fans, Sophie Cunningham had just become a breakout star. And the beauty of it, she wasn't just defending her teammate, she was defending the very heart of the WNBA itself. When Sophie Cunningham took that stand, it wasn't just about one game. It was about the broader implications for the league and its players. In the days following the game, Sophie's name spread like wildfire across social media platforms. The clips of her hard foul and subsequent actions were everywhere. Fans were riled up, cheering for Sophie's bravery and calling out the lack of protection for Caitlain Clark. Sophie had become a rallying point for all the fans who had watched, frustrated as the league's stars were continually mistreated without consequence. Within 48 hours, Sophie had become a household name, not just in Indiana, but across the entire sports world. Media outlets, NBA accounts, and fans were all buzzing about Sophie's actions. And while some people criticized her for going too far, the overwhelming majority were on her side. Sophie had finally given fans the protection they had been asking for. And then the real magic happened. Sophie Cunningham's jersey sold out. In hours. TikTok followers flocked to her account. Businesses started eyeing her for endorsement deals, and agents were already lining up to work with her. Sophie wasn't just a player now. She was a brand. And she had done it all in the span of a few days. But what's most telling about this moment is how it shifted the entire narrative of the WNBA. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Caitlain Clark's brilliance on the court. It was about Sophie Cunningham, the defender, the enforcer, the player who wasn't afraid to stand up for what was right. Sophie's moment became a turning point, a defining moment in the league's history that would forever alter how players were treated and how the league handled its biggest stars. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture here. What Sophie Cunningham did wasn't just about sending a message to JCS Sheldon or the Connecticut Sun. It was a statement to the entire WNBA. The league had allowed its star players, its most valuable assets, to be battered and bruised with no real consequence. But Sophie Cunningham wasn't having it anymore. She took matters into her own hands, and in doing so, she set a new standard for how players would be treated moving forward. This moment marks a turning point for the WNBA, a league that has been struggling to protect its superstars and elevate the sport. But after Sophie's viral moment, the conversation has shifted. Fans are no longer going to tolerate the mistreatment of players like Caitlain Clark. Sophie Cunningham has shown the league, the players, and the fans that it's time to take action. This wasn't just about one hard foul. It was about taking a stand for the future of the game. And in the days to come, the WNBA will have to reckon with this moment. Will they finally step up and protect their stars? Will they finally implement real change to ensure that players like Caitlain Clark are given the respect and protection they deserve? The world is watching, and thanks to Sophie Cunningham, the WNBA has no choice but to respond.